Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Stand. And this is a new Canadian musical based off of a Canadian stage musical called Strike, centered around the 1919 Winnipeg employment strike, and it's about a group of immigrants who deal with a lot of prejudice and force from the government, from the city, and them just wanting to get equal wages and fair wages and them to be able to make a life for themselves in Canada, their new home. And throw in a Romeo and Juliet-esque little love story and everybody singing about their problems, and you got Stand. And this film is directed by Robert Adetui, and this film very much feels like something that you'd watch on TV. And the cinematography is really glossy, very bright lighting. Definitely feels like this can be right off of like a television movie. And probably like the Hallmark Channel, honestly. And it feels a little cheap in that way and a little too glossy, especially for all the stuff going on. You would expect this to feel a little grittier, a little more raw, especially in how it's presenting a bunch of immigrants who are living below means, and yet everybody looks like they have completely prim and proper outfits on, even when they're getting like chased by horses and beaten to death and beaten up and shot at. And this film gradually builds up over the course of its hour and 50-minute runtime up to this big protest of them boycotting and walking out on strike and basically being met with some like special police, as the city of Winnipeg let go all the actual police officers and hire basically this mob. And honestly, this film kind of hits on to home on some pretty relevant things going on in our country in terms of boycotts and protests and government reactions to them. So like it could have easily been very relatable, and which it is. It definitely shows some of the terrible things that have gone on when it comes to protesting, and especially discrimination against immigrants, and even between different immigrant groups. You have Eastern European Christians and then Eastern European Jewish people. You have black people serving as maids and everything. And you have all these different kinds of backgrounds coming together. And they could have done a better job of like fleshing that out and really building off of that. A lot of this kind of feels surface level. And like the music, it's enjoyable, it's fun, it's well done, but none of it really like sits with you. And I can't, like, I'm sitting here after watching the film not really being able to remember any of the music in particular, except for maybe like one, maybe two songs from it. And it's serviceable musical in terms of like serviceable music and made for TV level technical aspects behind it. The love story at the center feels very shallow. Just these two people, you don't spend a whole lot of time building up their relationship. You have a more complex relationship between a father and son, the Sokolowiskis, and you get that dynamic from Marshall Williams and Greg Henry, who play son and his father respectively. And definitely Greg Henry is one of the more powerful performances in the film that has a lot more presence than a lot of them. Most of the performances are pretty standard, serviceable. They do their job. The singing is pretty standard, serviceable. There's some performances that feel a little wooden, a little stiff, especially from some of the actors who are playing like the politicians in the town. Some of their dialogue feels very on the nose and very wooden. And basically, this film has a good message, tells a timeless kind of story, even if it does it with not the level of depth that many of the films or plays or such have done in the past with this particular story, but I feel like it does just enough to make this a fine film. And I think if you're a fan of musicals and like historical dramas, period pieces, I think you'll get enough out of this film to have some enjoyment. If those really aren't your thing, I don't think this film's going to bring anything particular that's really going to grab your attention, minus the fact that it deals with some very relevant themes, especially still today in our country compared to 1919 Canada. So with all that being said, I think this is a soft recommend. I think some people are definitely going to find some enjoyment out of it, while others are probably going to be a pass. But those are my thoughts on Stand. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.